to me, I can't imagine not trying. I can't imagine not doing something just because you're scared. As soon as I said that to myself, that's when I knew I was going to do it. When I'm afraid to do it, like that stress you create of not being able to do something, like that's probably more difficult than the actual thing you have to do.
Today, we're introducing Eloise Butovich, the chef owner of number 27 Café and Central Park Flowers in Clark's Green. She specializes in Italian and French-inspired cuisine and coffee, infusing refined culinary sensibility into the welcoming neighborhood cafe. Before opening number 27 Café in 2023, Eloise spent a decade working in Manhattan real estate and built more than 17 years of experience as a business owner. Her discerning palate, creative vision, and commitment to continual improvement have shaped a thriving presence in the food and coffee space. Her husband, Dorian Butovich, leads Central Park Flowers and also co-owns number 27 Café. Together, they have built businesses grounded in craftsmanship, hospitality, and a deep commitment to community. In this conversation, we talk about Eloise's journey from Italy to New York to northeastern Pennsylvania and how she navigated all the changes that came with it. Without further ado, meet Eloise.
I know nothing about you, but I love your place. So why don't, for folks that might not know anything about what you have going on, myself included, outside of that cafe, I don't know what you have going on. So that's probably a huge part of your world. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So most people who know me well would know my story starts at them. Both of my parents were immigrants. So they came to the States from Italy after they got married. So when I was raised, it was a very traditional Italian household in Staten Island and in Brooklyn. And nobody spoke English. We only spoke Italian.
Really?
So it was a really different way to be raised as far as like Northeast PA. It was pretty common where I was in Brooklyn and Staten Island, but it's really different here. So my background is really, really Italian.
What part of Italy were they?
Sicily. It's the southwest coast of Sicily, a town called Ragusa. So my mom's whole side of the family is still there.
Okay.
My dad's whole side of the family immigrated to the States. So we go back and forth. They call it 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Can you say that in Italian?
No, I only know it in English.
Oh, okay.
No, it's actually like, it's a term a lot of immigrants will talk about, like never really assimilating into one culture because not everyone has left.
Right.
So it's, they can't figure out which, when they're in America, everything is better in Italy. And when they're in Italy, everything is better in America.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, I have family from Lake Como, but I think my mother went over there and tried to stake a claim and try to find him. No one wanted to admit being related to us. So.
They're afraid you're going to take the house.
Our foot is all the way out.
They're like, no, the property's ours.
Oh, yeah. So that's interesting. So you started off in a very interesting world.
Yeah, and I did a lot of cooking. I was the oldest girl of 4 kids. So that is a really normal place to be, is in the kitchen, helping your mom, doing everything. So I can remember I was 4 years old and my job was to set the table. And then I was 5 years old and my job was to shell the beans or whatever, like small task. And like every year there would be another job until you're kind of tall enough to stand at the stove or the sink. And that's kind of how it goes, as you get to a tall enough counter, you're going to handle that. So I've been cooking forever. Do
you love cooking?
I absolutely love cooking.
Really?
I always have.
Nice.
There's never been a moment where I'm like, I don't want to be in the kitchen. Yeah.
That's amazing. I grew up in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Rolling meatballs since I could stand. Cutting vegetables since
right.
I could stand. Yes.
what else are you going to do with children?
Yes. We
like give them something to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I hate to cook.
Do you really? So my sister doesn't like cooking, so
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't go all the way through.
I feel like we should have the Italian flag in the background here. That's great.
So this is amazing. Yeah. Okay, so you grew up in a kitchen, you love the kitchen, and then what?
But then, of course, like, so many parents, families, they want their kids to be professionals. So we were always told, I actually wasn't allowed to work in a restaurant. I wanted to, hostess or waitress, but my parents were like, no, you have to work in an office. All 4 of us had to work in offices. So first job was at a law office, Oliva and Ali Shahi. And I lied because I wanted to work so bad. I wanted to work. I wanted to, have a job and make money. So I said I was 14, but I was 13. And clearly the woman, Donna, knew I was not 14, but she was like, whatever. I was going to be filing, making coffee. They were a real estate law office. So I was just like copying closing files and making coffee for the closings. And she was like, yeah, all right. So that was my first job. And I worked for her. Oh my gosh, I must have been a senior in college by the time I stopped working for her. She was an attorney, then she was a tech entrepreneur. She ran a company in the city. So I worked for her for years.
Wow.
Like 5 years then, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I more
Nice.
10 because I would have been 13 when I started.
Oh,
And then when I graduated college. So
gotcha. Okay. That's
I
in
went
high
to New
school.
York for college and had started a company. So I worked there when I was in college.
That's
But I
amazing.
had a lot of corporate professional jobs throughout. I was going to be an attorney at one point. That's what I wanted to do, but I ended up pivoting into real estate. So I was in high-end real estate in Manhattan, like condos over 2 million, that sort of thing. And that was great and exciting. I did that for 10 years.
Wow.
And then we crashed the market. That was fun.
We crashed the market.
We certainly did.
I've heard about that.
We were absolute maniacs. I was young and we all had so much confidence. Like when you were in that
Yeah.
world, in that sales world, like you thought you could do anything. Like,
Right.
I could sell it for 5 million. Next week, I could sell it for 6 million. I could sell it for 7 million. Well, that is how you take down an economy,
Yeah.
which is what we all did. And then that's when we moved up here to PA. We took a year, it was 2008. And we're like, well, maybe it's time for a sabbatical.
Yeah.
And we took a year and stayed in Big Bass. My parents had a house there. So we're like, we'll just winter here for a year. And then we never
Wait out
left.
the storm.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. But my husband was he was in insurance at the time. So like his was the other market that
Yeah.
crashed the market
Yeah.
between the two of us.
I was gonna say it wasn't strictly realtors. There were some financial shenanigans.
Yeah, there
going
were
on.
a few different
Yeah.
industries that really kind of but we were probably too young to really understand. Well, we definitely were too young to understand what the market was doing. So they were, these were your late 20s, early 30s kids who were just great salespeople.
Yeah. Just doing what you were taught.
We were great at sales, and it was all about like pushing those goals and pushing those limits, which is probably where I learned to push goals and push limits because you could keep going forever.
Yeah.
Until the market tanked.
Wow.
Yeah. It took a dump. It just turned around, went nosedive, but did rebound.
Everything
but
changes though. Like it's sort of like the corrections are a big part of your transitions. Like how do you get to the next level? Well, something has to kind of go out from under you.
Yeah. I was I'm a financial planner. We manage portfolios for people. So I was in the midst of that storm. We did actually really well during that time, but nonetheless, the landscape was changed and everything. But I've learned from my peers and from some clients too, like, and business owners, sometimes when it gets really ugly, some people really excel. It's not fun. They don't want to be in there, but you kind of like, was it Tony Robbins that says burn the boats? Like you don't have a plan B. I have to make this work and
Why
figure it
else
out.
would you try?
Right.
If you
Right.
didn't, you have no choice
Right.
sometimes.
So you and your husband went on this project now that you're on?
So we were, he left AIG and I left real estate.
And AIG left everyone.
Right. So basically, like literally, we
Right.
actually, I like to say the two of us tanked the market.
Yeah.
He had two secretaries. He didn't even know what they did. Like
Oh.
all he did was go to lunch at Le Cirque every day. I'm like, what is your job, man? And he's like, I'm not sure.
Oh.
Like it was such a time. It was such a
Wow.
time. He knew his job, but I didn't know what he
Wow.
did. He just went to lunch a lot. I could never even compare with making dinner. Like I'd be like, oh, what'd you have for lunch? And he'd be like, duck. And I'd be like, okay. Like I'm not cooking. I'm not cooking. Like this is ridiculous. Your lunches are so stupid.
That's so funny.
I was not having it. But
Sounds like you put a lot of weight on.
he did when he was at AIG. He did put on some weight.
Oh, sorry. I don't know your husband, so I just threw that.
Yeah,
out.
okay.
No judgment.
So when we left, when the market crashed in 2008 and we moved up to PA and then decided to stay, we decided to open Central Park Flowers. So my husband had been a flower designer before AIG. It still is, but was one of the best designers in New York. He worked for Versace and he worked for the Clintons, and like he just had this great portfolio and he did great. And we'd moved up here after 9/11. He stopped doing flowers, moved up here after AIG, and I was like, why don't you just go back to it? And eventually he did. So we restarted the business.
So he went from design work to
Yeah,
insurance.
his story was crazy.
Was it because of the money? I'm assuming.
No, it was because of 9/11. So he had the Windows on the World account
Okay.
and he was running late for work that day.
Oh, wow.
And so he got caught up at Lutece, an account that he had in Midtown, talking to the manager. We'd just come back from Sicily. Like we'd only been married a year or so. And we'd just gotten back from Sicily. And the manager was like, "Oh, have a coffee. I want to hear about it." And he's like, "I can't. My whole team's outside. Like they're waiting with the van." He's like, "Leave him out there. Have a coffee." So he left him out there. They had a coffee. And normally he was at the top floor, 8:20 every Tuesday, period. Like that was our life. And then we used to joke because my train would have been underneath World Trade at that same time because I would have been on my way to work. We lived in Brooklyn. And that was my first day off in 2 months because I had just started in real estate. So I'd been working so hard. So he was late for work and I wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Wow.
And that's when
serendipity
they,
right there.
right. And then
Wow.
he did funerals for 2.5 years.
Ah,
He went from a life of nothing but parties to nothing but funerals. And at some point during that, he was like, "That's it. After I finish the last funeral, I'm not doing this anymore." And that's what he did. He stopped. But then we moved up here. By then it was 2009. I knew he missed it. I was certainly tired of working for people. I was like, let's, reopen. Let's start again. So we opened a shop in Oliphant and just kind of restarted. And that was like, that's where we really learned how to run a business. That's when it started.
What? Tell me some of that nitty gritty in there. Like what?
You just never go to bed. You never sleep.
Yeah.
People don't realize that a successful business is really so much of it is just constant work.
Yeah.
Until it works. And that could be 2 years, that could be 5 years, that could be 6 years, but it's going to be, it's never 8 hours. It's never 10 hours. It's never 5 days a week.
I always say to folks around me is like a business is run from 9 to 5, but it's built outside the margins.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're shutting your phone off and your laptop at 6:00, you are not a business owner.
No.
Right.
You might be a partner. Someone else is doing it.
Somebody's doing it.
Someone's
Yeah, right.
doing
That's a good point.
those other hours.
So was this the first time you and your husband were actually working together?
Yes. So
layer
was
that
the
on
first
top of
time.
it.
Look at you,
Yeah,
like,
like,
So that's one of my favorite things about being a business owner is I get to spend so much time with my husband, and my daughter has worked with us as well, and I've gotten to spend so much time with her because of this. And the first 6 months, if there was ever a time where we might either divorce or kill each other, it would have been in that first 6 months. That was like amazing because we'd been together for a long time, but not like this, not in this high pressure environment, not in this financial pressure environment, not in like colliding opinions and colliding talents. At 6 months, I don't remember who gave us this advice, but it's the best advice. I say this to couples all the time. Find out what annoys the other person and don't do it.
That's fantastic.
So like we asked each other and we found out and then we committed to not doing that.
And it worked.
Well, like get off my desk. Like don't root through my desk. Don't move my stuff. Don't try and figure out what I'm doing on my space. That's like a really good one. Like you wouldn't be okay with someone doing that in your office if it wasn't your spouse.
So
why now? Why now?
Did that stuff happen naturally, or did you two have a moment or a time where you sat down and said, "Look, here are the things that need to work, and you take these 10 things, I'll take these 10," or was it just kind of a natural evolution as you figured it out?
Nothing was natural. Everything is a struggle. Everything is work.
You make it
Everything
sound
is
hard.
figuring out. It is really hard, but it's great. But nothing good is easy.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that's like there's nothing you cook in the kitchen that's so, all those, whenever a recipe says easy, I don't know. I don't even want to look at it. Maybe it's good, but like nothing, it's never easy. Like you really have to put so much thought and care into the things that you do if you want them to have a great result or a great effect. So like, it's not easy to make a cup of coffee, not if you make it right. Not if you get the best beans, not if you ground them really well, not if you take your time, not if you check the temperature. So it's never easy. So we found out, we thought we knew who was good at what. And we were right about some of it. Like Dorian is definitely a great designer and I am fine. I'm okay. I'm not a profitable designer. Like it takes me too long. I use way too much product. Like if I
Mhm.
give you a design, like I made no money on it.
Aw.
It might look great, but we lost money. If he makes it, you hit all of the goals, all of
Right.
the targets. And so that's, owning a business is different than doing things for fun, for sure.
Mhm.
Interesting.
You have to pay people. You have to make money.
Mhm.
That's right. A challenge for with you both playing such a pivotal role. Do you get time for a vacation together? Because that takes a huge chunk of
Yes.
your workforce away, right?
Well, it used to.
It used to.
Now we're probably 30 strong at this point. So it's a little different now. We can get away, but we don't get away that often because we have so many responsibilities. There's so much to do. And your brain kind of doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
Um, so we don't go far for long.
Gotcha.
We're not at that point yet where we could leave it, especially if it's 7 days. So
So when you
Yeah.
started it down there, how long before you moved it to where it is today?
so we did we were a couple of years on the corner of on Lackawanna Avenue in Oliphant, in downtown Oliphant. And it was a cute little property. It was about 600 square feet, but we quickly started to outgrow it because we didn't know when we opened the flower shop if it was going to be more retail or if it was going to be more events. We didn't know what the market was going to do. But it turned out to be leaning much more towards events. So we were doing lots of weddings, lots of big parties. So like
Better than
figure
funerals, I guess. Huh?
Mm.
we actually, the funeral business is great, but we weren't getting very much of it. We were getting, you really that's kind of like an old school connections kind of business. So we were the newcomers, so we weren't getting a lot of that.
Gotcha.
But the weddings were a lot easier for us to snag because they're such a visual impact. So you could really see the work. And every time
Mhm.
you do a wedding, you have 300 people seeing your product right in front of them on the table.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So
post some pictures from it.
yeah.
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 So it was perfect in that respect. So we were doing a lot of that, but we started to run out of room. So we'd be working on the sidewalk. So like there'd be like branches and like all of our flowers, product, everything just pouring out onto the sidewalk from the cafe or from the flower shop. And so that was great because like visually
Right.
people were able to see what we were doing outside the shop. So that was really
That's pretty
cool.
cool.
Then we outgrew that and we bought an old convent 2 blocks away.
An old
An old convent.
Okay.
We like buildings that we can
Still
do
an
something
elephant.
new in Oliphant. Yeah.
Okay.
So we bought an old convent and we it was 2,000 square feet per floor. And we put storage on the ground floor. And then the first floor was the flower shop. So that was 4,000 square feet. And then we lived on the second and third floors. So we just redid the whole thing and made all of the quote unquote cells into rooms and had this really cool, crazy house that we lived in or building. And we were there for like 10 years, maybe a little more. And then during COVID, we sold it and moved to Clark Summit. So we had what had happened is we had pivoted. COVID hits, and like here's a business that is 90% based on events.
Yeah. I got you.
Everything
Mhm.
we
Yep.
did was 90% of our business, and it was successful and it was great, but it was all events,
Yep.
and it crashed. And now 90% of your business is gone, and you're like, what do we do? But we had to pivot and we pivoted into retail. And we always thought about retail, but that was a totally different business. It was almost like starting a second business if we wanted to do retail and events because you needed dedicated staff to be present all the time as different products. But we had nothing else to do. So we switched into this retail and a lot more delivery. So during COVID, we built the retail side of the business, which was great. Well, then COVID ends and now we have this really robust, strong retail business, but we have this backup of events that's coming up. And now we're like, oh my God, we don't have enough room. Like we need to double our staff. Because
Wow.
COVID
Wow.
ending, all these parties starting again, like we needed to kind of rebuild the whole thing, but twice as big. So we
And
started
like a
looking for
hybrid
space.
model now.
Yeah. And by then, I had taken, at some point, when we were in Oliphant, I had taken a job at the University of Scranton because we really wanted like to take the weight of benefits off of the
Yeah.
process.
Mhm.
And also, I'm really great at building businesses and I'm really great at automating processes. I'm really great at getting things to function in a process so that I can step away.
Hmm.
Like
That's a
I love
skill.
the process of delegating a process, creating a process, perfecting it, moving on to the next one. And I did that. And one day I found myself, the phone was ringing and neither one of us were answering it. And we're both waiting for the other person. And he's like, the phone's ringing. And I'm like, I hear it. The phone's ringing. And he's like, well, get it. And I was like, I'm a secretary. Like I did all of the work I needed to do to create this business, to automate it, to do everything I could do for it. But now I'm at the point where I'm literally just answering the phone for the most part.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, I'm like, I'm not bringing a ton of value to this situation right now. So I ended up going to the University of Scranton and working in development for 4 years. And then that's when COVID hit and everything kind of shut down. And we were looking at this larger piece of real estate once everything came through. And I had always wanted to do the cafe. Like that had always been something. I was a barista for 6 months in college. And that was my
Worked a lot.
favorite
Just fell
job
in love.
ever. That was my favorite job ever.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
Nice.
It was so wonderful. And I always wanted to open a cafe. And during COVID, you had so much time to like read and hang
Think.
out and think.
I feel really
cook.
guilty about my cheesy K-cup coffee that I made just before we started. Just turn your head
It'll
while I
work.
drink it.
It'll work in a
Look.
pinch. Don't get me wrong. I don't say no to a K-cup.
There's something about a really good cup of coffee.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're a coffee
Yes.
drinker, like as soon as you sip it, you're like, oh yeah,
I know.
that's right. Yeah.
Or that time, like you're somewhere random and like you get a cup of coffee and you're like, I think this is the best coffee I've ever had. And you're like at a wedding and it's like catering coffee.
Yeah.
And it's just some
Something.
random. Yeah.
Yeah,
they are
coffee
special
can be
cups.
magical.
So you have one heck of a work ethic.
Yeah.
Sounds like you both do.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. Now, did he learn that from you, or was he raised kind of that same way where he's
We met, he was 19 or 20 and I was 21 when we met. We were in college.
okay?
And by then, no, we both already had jobs. We both were working hard. I think it's kind of like a Gen X thing. I think a lot of Gen Xers just kind of like their parents worked, we worked. That was what you did. Like there wasn't also like our bosses were not softies. Like they were like, like, oh my God, the way our bosses would talk to us and the expectations they had.
Yeah, like a football coach.
It's totally
Get
different.
in there and do it.
Totally different. I had one of my favorite, not my favorite, maybe most influential bosses. She was fantastic though. She's just amazing. Her name was Ann Young, and she has sold probably well over $5 billion worth of real estate over her career. Like
Wow.
just a legend. And she said two things to me. Once she said, and I wasn't sure if it was a compliment or an insult, but I knew it was true. And she was just like, God, you're like a dog with a bone, Eloise. And I was like,
Can't let it
that's
go.
true. That's true. Like I am, I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
and whatever this might be.
Yep.
So I don't know how she meant it, but she wasn't wrong. And then she also said I could sell someone concrete. And I was like, I do
Yeah.
all day. That's my job, woman.
Yeah.
I actually sell concrete.
That's amazing. Okay. So you can sell, you can cook, you have an eye for floral design.
Oh, no, I don't have an eye. I just have an eye for business.
Okay.
Dorian
you have
has an eye for design.
business, processes. And now you're marrying all of this into events, retail, cafe
Yes.
in Clark Summit.
And now it finally works. Now it's like, now I can really kind of sit back right around now. I'm getting to like see it all come together and realize like how all of that created something else. And it's really cool. Like now I finally have, for all of the work, I can honestly say I absolutely love to go to work. I love to go to work every single day. Like this morning I had to go in at 7, which I didn't want to. I've had a lot of early mornings recently, but I didn't want to get up at 7. I had no desire. But like I love being there.
Mhm.
As soon as I walk in, I'm fine.
It's such an amazing space.
It is
It is
great.
such an amazing space.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we just said before we started rolling that's where we sat down and talked about starting this podcast. So
Mhm.
It's great ideas come from that
Yes,
space.
great ideas
That
are
was the
born
point.
there.
Yeah.
So number 27 is the business is named after number 27 Rue de Fleur, which was Gertrude Stein's address in Paris. She was an American expat,
Okay.
and she and her friend, but everyone knew it was her girlfriend, Alice. They lived in this house and they entertained artists and writers. And so Gertrude was a critic and a writer, and a philanthropist and a supporter of the arts. So she would invite all these like no name or, not very relevant artists and writers like Hemingway, like Picasso, and they would hang out at the house. And Alice, her girlfriend, would cook for them.
Okay.
I
And
love
so,
that.
like, this was the life that they led. And so, like, she would, have them in her house and they would talk about writing and they would talk about their ideas and they would talk about their art. And Alice would come out with like tea and coffee and lunch and dinner. And like, that was the kind of space I wanted.
Yeah.
And Dorian and I are both art history majors. So, like, we're both
That's what I was just going to ask. Where did you
yeah.
pick that story up?
We're
That's-
both
Yeah,
art
I
history
know.
majors. And so like we knew all the artists she worked with. We were fans of all those writers. And so it kind of really worked for us.
I love that.
It's
That's
like a lot
so
of times
inspiring.
couples are like mix and match, like yin yang, but you guys are like the
We're-
same like the male and female version
Yeah.
of the same person.
We are kind of.
That's
we are.
interesting. That's
Although I
actually-
think he was really grateful I didn't make him come to a podcast this morning. I literally walked in and he's like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "I'm doing a podcast this morning." And he's like, "Okay, bye."
Yeah. Good luck at that.
Exactly.
Can you talk about your you talked about one of your superpowers is the process and building a process around
Mhm.
something, scaling it, figuring out how to make it efficient. Like, talk to me more about, is that something you learned through business school, through just execution? A little bit of both.
I think that I realized I was good at it when we started to have more than one event at a time. So now we would have more than one wedding, for example. So that means you have two brides' houses to deliver to, you have two churches to deliver to, you have two receptions to deliver to, you have two breakdowns. Your day starts at 6, including packing all the vehicles. So like when you have to start to figure out how to make all of that work with the employees that you have, the vehicles that you have, the locations you have to get to. And then you went from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6 sometimes.
Wow.
As
In
we
one
started-
day?
Yeah. So as we started to grow, 6 would have been like our biggest days. We tried not to get quite that big, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say no to some
How do you
business.
say no?
It's
Yeah.
too
Mhm.
great or it's too important. The person's too important.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get into that situation. But we certainly had multiples on many, many days. And that's when we started to realize that this was really kind of, this was where I was really going to shine, being able to get an itinerary down, being able to make sure every single item was where it needed to be. And also the backup plan if it wasn't, because inevitably something is going to break, something is going to go missing. There'll be an extra table somewhere. So like, that's where we learned that I was really, really good at those processes. And then once we started to have to work with inventory, like adding events to inventory, to product, to how much you're going to have and how much you're going to need and what season we're in and what's growing, what's not. And that's when I realized like, oh, this is what I'm really good at.
Mm.
Like I can do this. And I really love making it so that it's completely doable for anyone. And then walking away and then doing another thing like that. And that transitioned really well into the cafe. But that was still a big, big leap. That was a big leap because I had no kitchen. I had no back of house
Yeah.
experience at all. No back of house. I just built my own kitchen and decided that's what I was going to do without
Wow.
back of house.
Well, it's
That was a
also,
little risky.
Yeah.
that's also challenging. I mean, the food industry in itself is
Mhm.
a whole new animal, right?
I had no idea. I thought I knew. I
Yeah.
thought I knew.
Yeah.
But there's definitely things that you don't know until you're in it.
Yeah.
You have no idea until you're in it.
So, did you just try to figure out everything on your own? Did you research it?
I'm
Did
a
you
big
get
researcher.
mentors?
Not mentors, but I'm a big researcher. Like I'm big on I have a huge library we actually have our own libraries. Like Dorian has his library. I have my library. Like there are 2 rooms in the house, full walls of bookshelves. And like we'll argue over who owns a particular book, which is kind of funny. Like that's my art book. That's my art book. Like I want it on my shelf. So like we have our own spaces, but cookbooks, food books, like nonstop.
Hmm.
Anything that a chef has ever written, I will read or listen to, good or bad. Like it doesn't matter. Like, and I will test so many recipes. Like I will literally just be sitting on my phone and I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go in the kitchen, see if I have everything for this, and get off the couch and like make chicken thighs with broccoli. Like whatever Jacques Pepin decided to show me on his reel today, I literally will walk over to the kitchen with my phone. Like I don't wait.
I'd love to be your next door
Wow.
neighbor.
I
You're like, yeah, I
know.
can't eat all this.
Where do you get all your energy from?
I don't know. I'm so tired, but once I get going,
Really good coffee.
Yeah, really
Um,
good coffee.
So that's interesting. So, question on is it your husband's name Dorian?
Mhm.
So does Dorian still do most of the floral design
yeah, he
or
does.
all of?
He
Yeah.
does most of it. He has a couple people who work for him that are really talented. That the last few years um, have really kind of started to do a lot more.
Hmm.
But that's definitely his wheelhouse. That's what he does.
Well, I think that's the reason I asked that question is I think most businesses, small businesses, start out with 1 or 2 people with some
Mhm.
talent. And the next thing you know, you start to realize the abundance of work that comes your way and
Mhm.
whatever the industry is. And you start to realize I have something here. And then you try to scale. And a lot of times what happens is as you scale, you begin managing the business and not doing the work that made you
Mhm.
so demanded, right? And so you take the biggest talented person in your workforce and you put him or her in the office pushing paperwork, making sales, things like that, and then all of a sudden the quality it's hard to maintain.
Changes.
Yeah.
He
And
had
so
to
it
do.
sounds like he got to stay right where he's really good.
He did once I left the U and I came back because I did leave when I said I got all the processes done. It still needed people to handle it. So he did have to pivot when I left and do a little bit more of the more boring paperwork, to be quite honest, like
Yeah.
the stuff that he really wasn't interested in. Like he doesn't mind a proposal, which is paperwork, but there's still a lot of creativity in a proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there's not a whole lot of creativity in taxes. There's not a whole lot of creativity in HR. That stuff just has to be done.
Yep.
And if you don't do it, you don't have a business.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just doesn't exist without those things.
Yeah.
And you can get into a lot of trouble if you don't do your taxes every single month. If you don't, you know, do your quarterlies, like you can't ignore any of that for a minute. So he took on a lot of that. And he also does handle most of the finance for both businesses. So I do get a pass on that. It's not my problem.
So I have a question. Let's kind of a step back and look at I guess I'd say your professional life so far. I use the word resourceful a lot. So we do a lot of financial planning for clients, and when they enter, a lot of it's when they're entering or about to get close to retirement, right? And they want to know, will I not run out of money? And I always say there's 2 types of clients. There's the folks that your financial plan needs to be tight because they can't adapt very well.
Mhm.
And then I say there's the second category, which is a very resourceful person. And I love that word because I think most entrepreneurs, it's like a necessity.
Mhm.
And when a lot of people are like, "Oh, just follow your passion," and all that stuff, you kind of did and you kind of didn't. But like from the story you've given, you're very resourceful. You're pretty darn good at like reading the tea leaves and understanding what we've been doing is not working anymore, or in one couple of cases, a cold stop, right?
Yeah.
But you're not like, oh, well, let's just give up and let's just, maybe I'll just jump
Yeah.
on someone's payroll. You're like, okay, we need to do the next
Mhm.
iteration of ourselves. And so just talk to me about like I guess I want you to affirm what I'm saying is that
Mhm.
you need to be resourceful and opportunistic, right? And that can come out with a negative connotation, but I don't want it to. I think it's you look at like, hey, there's a need, nobody's doing it here. I'd
Mhm.
love to do that. And how do I put it together? And you
Yeah.
research it instead of trying something and saying, "Oh, that didn't work after 1 week," you're like, "All right, what did I mistake did I make? And let's go back
Yeah.
my own private library," which most people don't have 2 libraries in their house, I gotta say, that's
Yeah, that's pretty
impressive.
impressive.
We love our books. I I think that I have always been kind of a risk taker when it comes to business and learning and experiences. So to me, like I can't imagine not trying.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not doing something just because you're scared. Like I was scared to do the podcast because I don't think I'm good on camera. Or I get nervous about being on camera. I get nervous about speaking with a microphone. But like to me, as soon as I said that to myself, that's when I knew I was going to do it. Like that's when I decide I'm going to do something. When I'm afraid to do it. When I'm nervous, but I like something in me tells me like, oh, you probably could do that. Like you're just being a baby. And I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe I just have to maybe I just have to stop it and just move forward. Like stop worrying, stop stressing about how hard it is. That's probably more difficult than the actual thing you have to do.
Yeah.
Like that stress you create of not being able to do something. Like, how do you know? How do you even know you can't do it? Like, when did you last do that thing? Go and do it. See what happens.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Fail? Oh, great. Like, if this podcast sucks, you don't have to air it. Like,
I want you to look right in this
Yeah,
camera and
why?
say, "Crushed it."
it doesn't have to, like, and that goes for everything. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There were definitely moments where this venture may not have worked, or there were things I didn't know how to do.
Yeah.
So then you freaking Google it. I
Yeah.
don't know how many times I tell people to Google it. Like, how do you do this? I'm like, I don't know. Like, Google it. How many ounces in a stick of butter? Look it up. It's not that hard.
When I hear your story, you hear what did you say, resourcefulness?
Yeah.
I'm hearing self-trust and faith in yourself. You have a
Mhm.
very deep, strong connection with who you are and how you operate. So you almost I feel like you're optimizing your own power and your own self and your own decisions and your own faith. Where does that come from?
That had to be my dad.
Yeah.
He was so charming and so strong in that anything he tried, like anything he touched, he could do. Um, and I'm a lot like him. So that would be, I think that it's so much of that just is who I am. Like there's no question that would be,
It's probably who
yeah,
you've always been.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much probably. Once I got to college, I realized, and I mean, I wasn't the most successful. I wasn't the person who was perfect at everything, but I did realize that I was the person who worked the hardest. Like I will always outwork everyone. I will always work more hours. I will always work more days. I will always do more. And it's not on purpose. It's just that's how I work. When we started the cafe, I was exhausted. It was like a 12-hour day was a short day. That was a short day. And 7 days for forever, for a really long time, was the drill. And now a 12-hour day is longer, but it's pretty normal. And 6 days a week is pretty normal. Luckily, I work with my husband, and
Mhm.
my daughter is in college now. But when she was home, she worked at the cafe a lot. So I did not have to be with my family when I was working at my hardest.
Mhm.
They were around.
That's
So
what I
like
was thinking
that,
too. So the balance
yeah.
is kind of built into the machine.
I wouldn't call it balance, but being around my family
Mhm.
was.
Yeah.
And then my nieces also worked for me so that I got to see my sister a lot more often and my mom a lot more often because now they were dropping them off or picking them up. So they were around a lot more. So as far as the business giving me more exposure to my family, it has, without a doubt. Because otherwise, my daughter would be in school at her second, at her after school job, and my husband would be at his job, and everyone would be doing their own things. But now we all do it in the same place. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
So you said your parents didn't want you to be in the restaurant business
Hmm.
and wanted you to go to school. How do you feel? I'm just curious with your daughter. Would you like this lifestyle for her if she wanted it, or would
Um,
you talk her out of it?
no, I wouldn't talk her out of it at all. She's a lot like me as far as a really strong work ethic. And spends a lot of time working on whatever she's doing, whether it's studying for a test or working on an audition or working at the cafe, like whatever she's doing, she's full on. She is at it. She's spending a lot of time on it. So I think we've told her that, you have this. This
Mhm.
is always behind you. So you can pretty much try anything you want. You don't have to do this. This is here for you. We only have one kid. So if, eventually you either run this, you sell it, or, you teach someone else to run it. And, some form of that is going to be what you do. So this is the time you could do whatever you want. So she's at school. She's in California. She's at LMU and kind of being a kid, being
Yeah.
18, having a great time, living a great life.
That's amazing.
A little jealousy
I
there.
know, I know.
Oh, I'm so happy for her. It's so nice. Although she came home last week and she was like, "Oh my God, it's so cold." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Where's your coat?"
Yeah, I know
She was
where it
at the
goes.
beach last week.
Oh,
So we wrote down, we have some questions, and you spent some time going through those today. And to be honest with you, I forget what those questions are.
yeah, I have them here.
But
If there's
I'm
anything you want out of
well,
them.
I'm curious to know, as you were kind of sitting and sipping your coffee and enjoying your own space at your own place, did you is there anything on there that kind of, a lot of times when people come on this conversation, this podcast, or even when I'm talking to them through my job, and if I ask them to sit and reflect and actually have this kind of deeper conversation, it's almost cathartic. Like, wow, I haven't done this in a while. Like I've
Yeah.
asked retirees, hey, you've been retired and enjoying life for 10 years, can you talk about it? And a lot of times when they go back, they're like, I had this bucket list of stuff. I never got to this stuff. So I've
Yeah.
reinvigorated my bucket list or something. But when you look at your business and where it is today from all that path that you've traveled, are you at a place where you think this is my plateau? Or are you like, okay, I'm ready to do the next iteration of what our team is
I
doing?
don't think I'll ever plateau.
Yeah.
It's just as much as like it sounds like a nice thing and it sounds like a restful place.
It sounds scary to me.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think I'll actually ever get there just because there's always something else. And it was actually like that when the beginning, the first questions and the last questions kind of really got me to like refocus and kind of reframe everything and organize it a little bit, which was nice. But in the first question, you asked what uh, something that we were most excited about and most passionate. And excited and challenging is the growth of the business. So now that I've got a lot of things under really good control and in a good process, like my hiring and my staff, and my training are in a good place, my inventory is in a good place. I love the brand of coffee that we're using. I think it's like one of the best in the world. So like I feel good about those things. But I know that growth is in to go, growth is in delivery, and growth is in events for the cafe. And those are all really big chunks, um, with all new processes that will require a whole new renegotiation of inventory and space and staff. So that I'm excited about, like that next challenge and getting through that, and building, increasing the revenue and building the business, because that would probably, and be, if I hit all three of them, I could be anywhere from 50 to 75% increase in revenue. So
Wow.
that's a lot, but
Yeah.
that also means that much more work, that much more staff, that much more inventory, that many more processes. So that's an interesting thing for the next year or two. Which one of those I really tackle the hardest, first, and then excited about is perfecting the craft that um, that we have. So perfecting that coffee craft, perfecting the food presentation, and also perfecting the customer experience. Like when you walk in, how does it feel? How does it sound? How does it smell? How does it, what does it feel like when you walk up to the counter? Do you feel like, oh, finally, like I can relax?
Mhm.
And that's what those are the things I want to do. And those are really fun parts of the business. So I really like that. And then, something.
Before you go to the next question,
Mhm.
who tempers? How do you temper your exuberance for the growth with like the realist saying? Do
Mhm.
you and your husband kind of offset each other, or do you have to kind of
Um,
self-discipline there and say, hey,
Depends on the thing. Like I'll be like, you should make this with flowers. And he was like, okay, well, have you actually thought that through?
yeah,
Like how is that going to stand or support itself? And it's
yeah,
the same on my side. He'll be like, well, just get delivery going. And I'm like,
How is that going to
It's
stand
not
and support
exactly that
itself?
exactly. It's
Yeah.
not that simple. Like now I have to or get the website ready so you can order online. Well, yes, but it's programming. It's very specific. It's, how many sugars, how much cream, how cold do you want it, how hot do you want it? Like there's so many options in every single thing because people have so many choices now.
Yeah.
That these things take a lot of time to craft well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've both been in business long enough to it's okay, and there's a time and a place to get excited about ideas, but actually putting them into motion for growth, and balancing the cost of an idea with the profit. Like maybe it's a great idea, but it doesn't make any
Yeah,
money.
100%
Like
Mhm.
right.
great, I
Yes.
love that idea. You could do that at home. Good luck with
In your
that.
free time.
Right. Or someone will ask me to make something, and I'm like, that's makes no sense. Why can't we just make someone an egg? Because I'm not going to make any money
Mm-hmm.
making someone an egg. I can't make enough money to pay your salary if I'm only making one egg.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Mhm.
work that way. You have to buy a meal.
Yeah.
So it's those kinds of decisions that kind of make you sound a little cold, but the truth is I have to protect everybody's paycheck. Like that's my job.
Yeah.
You people need your paychecks, and if I don't protect the financial stability of this business, then you're not going to get paid.
How much of a curveball is the price fluctuation with food? Like when you mention eggs, and I think about the spike that we had, and
It's been a ride for
yeah,
anyone in the food industry. Costs have gone up dramatically, and that's just the reality of the business. And we've increased our prices just like everyone else has. And you're prepared with an explanation if someone needs one, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that. And
yeah,
if
Mm-hmm.
what I do is not life or death essential. It is an extra.
Mm-hmm.
You can make your coffee at home. You can make your sandwich at home, but you choose to come out into the world and interact and be in a great environment and have someone take care of you and have something delicious and thoughtful. And you're choosing that, just like you're choosing the kind of car you drive or the show you're watching or the channels you want to stream.
it's an experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I when I go to restaurants a lot of times, because I probably shouldn't do this so often, but I look around. Sometimes I look at the price. I'm like, man, for this meal, I just
Mhm.
paid $15, and I'm thinking about, well, how much was this like 3-4 years ago? It was a lot less, and I think, am I stupid? Like, maybe I should be cooking out of my kitchen, right?
It's more
And
expensive now. The
right,
supermarket's so expensive.
but
You might
Yeah.
as well come eat at the
but
cafe.
exactly, and I look around,
Yeah.
and the places are packed because
Well, my
everyone else
costs
just loves eating out at these places, and your
honestly,
experience
it's
is awesome.
cheaper. It's way cheaper for me to buy food than it is for you to buy food. But the cost is still high to run and operate a
Mm-hmm.
food business.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, like, I go to the supermarket and I am absolutely floored. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
people are affording the food. I
Yeah.
really don't.
It's hard.
It's so expensive in the supermarket, versus what you're paying in a wholesale, and the wholesale is still very expensive. Now I have so many expenses. I have employees, and no one gets paid minimum wage where we work. There's no one getting paid less than $10 an hour. It could be a 14-year-old dishwasher. It doesn't matter. And then you add their tips to that, they're making, $13, $14 an hour. And you know what? That's good that they have standards as to how much money they are going to make.
Mm-hmm.
They should have a standard. There should be a line that we draw as business owners that says, like, it's not right to pay someone so little just because you can.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That everyone has to live.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, maybe I don't have the hardest heart when it comes to like how much my profit's going to be, but I'm not going to make it off the back of the people that work for me. Like I don't think that's
That's
the
well
place
said.
to find profit. I think there are other places you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no room for scruples and morals in the corporate world.
Right? Which is why
This
I'm
is a
not in
joke,
it.
yeah.
We
That's
talk about
why
that.
I'm not there.
Everybody around me knows I hate when somebody says, "Hey, it's not personal, it's business." Business
It's
is
No,
personal. You
personal
can't
is
be in
personal.
Northeast
so
PA.
personal.
100%. Yeah.
It's why I don't want to be corporate.
So, is there anything else that any thoughts that got provoked with those questions that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I loved the last question. Imagine it's your last day on earth. What's the one truth or lesson you'd want people to remember? That, like, with everything I do, the result of everything I do has a human connection to it. The result of everything I do has a taste, it has a smell. You can see it, whether it's the food or it's the flowers or the design, or it's the interaction. When you say good morning to someone when they walk in, and that might be the only person they talk to for the day.
Mm.
That might be the only conversation they want to have for the day. That human connection, that experience, that's everything. And you have that in everything you do. You have that in every job, in every profession. But you have to look for it. Like if you ignore it, like if you walk past the good morning that someone just gave you, or you don't appreciate the cup of coffee in front of you, and take the 2 minutes to be like, wow, that's a really good K cup. Like I got a good one.
Well done.
Like, that was a good one. If you, or you're like, even if you're in the car and like you grab a bottle of water and it's so cold because it's so freaking cold in Pennsylvania. But it's like ice cold. It's like perfect cold. And it was in your car. Like if you don't appreciate those things, you're going to miss so much of the good stuff. So like if you're going to work this hard, if we're going to have so many troubles and so many problems, like you have to look for those moments, those connections, because otherwise you're going to miss everything. Like those are the moments.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. I love it. And today's world with not just AI, but even before that, with the phones and automation and just kind of taking the human. I used to like, so silly as it sounds, I used to like to go to my bank to withdraw money, and I'd go to the teller instead of the ATM because I just liked the interaction and made me feel good. And not that the tellers are not doing their job, but there's less reason now. Everything's more automated, just transfer electronically, and I kind of miss those days.
That's funny. I still go to Wade Bank for exactly the same reason, and so does my husband.
Is that right?
Yeah. We'll roll in. It'd be like, I'll go get change. Like we could send anyone to get change.
Right. Yeah.
But that interaction is a big part of what you're doing every day. And if you keep skipping it, then you're really just working. Yeah.
It becomes more like a machine.
So it's paying attention to them, but also creating them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And creating space to create them. Yeah. So beautiful.
Well, I appreciate that you came here on this podcast, that you faced your inner fears. I also appreciate that you brought some wonderful cookies, which if I could get myself a better cup of coffee than this, I will really enjoy that.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Are these the ones that got messed up?
No, these are the good ones. These are the good ones. I would never bring you the messed up ones.
I'm just kidding.
Absolutely
That's
not.
Great.
The kitchen seating, though. Don't worry.
Was it as bad as nerve-wracking as you thought? Because you seemed super comfortable once you got going.
As long as I don't think about the fact that I was on a camera, I'm fine.
Millions of people are not going to watch. I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
No, millions will. Because I'm on,
Yeah.
That's right.
No, your story is so good. I really enjoyed hearing it.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's very inspiring. I feel like I want to go work harder now.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something
that's great.
You have great aura, as my kids would say.
Thanks. I like your kids.
Yeah, that's one of us. No, I'm just kidding. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And I'd love to hear about the next iteration of what goes on maybe a few years out from now. I have a feeling things will not stand still.
No, they don't.
They're going to keep growing, right? Yes.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Beyond the Bottom Line. Thank you for listening. If this conversation sparked something for you, please let us know. Follow, share, or leave a review. It helps us keep having the conversations we love that you love to listen to. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more real talk from real leaders. Until then, here's to feeling successful beyond the bottom line.